Just pop in whenever you're ready. So he'll be on in just a second.
All right, there we go.
All right, good evening. So it is week 10 pick'ems with my co-host Agent Warrior X, and it's an interesting edition of pick'ems because we don't really get this happening a whole lot, but it is trade deadline day, so there was actually some stuff going on in the NFL today besides just us being on here talking about the upcoming week. Before we do get into the pick'ems, are there any comments you want to make about some of the trades that happened or anything that caught your eye?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to NFL Pickup Week 10. I'm your host, Agent Warrior, and I'm here with Nikki Stees. So, about the trade deadline that happened, this was one of the craziest deadlines we've ever seen. The New York Jets were immediately sellers. That's all I gotta say. The Jets were immediately sellers. The moment that they traded Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts had really shocked me. It had me mind blown, complete mind blown. Because have you ever seen a team trade your best player, rather it's offense and defense, to a different team who was on a winning culture or a surprising team ultimately ends up getting the best player? Have you ever seen that, Nikki?
I mean, usually when you trade away your best player, you usually do it during the offseason when you're trying to get extra picks in return along those lines. Kind of what happened when the Niners traded away Terrell Owens. They knew at that point their years as a championship contender ran its course and they were rebuilding for the future. But that was an entirely different situation. And the Jets, while it is true that they're in full blown rebuild mode, never quite seen an in season trade where you just send someone packing. Usually you do that during the offseason when you're trying to get some assets for the draft. And the Jets, they didn't really get that. Now, for Sauce Gardner, though, I'm happy for him because now he gets to go to an Indianapolis Colts team that's at the top of the AFC. So he gets to actually experience what it's like on a winning team instead of being stuck as basically the big fish in a small pond. Now we actually get to see him take that to a real team. And he's not the only player that left the hellhole to go to a better team.
Quentin Williams to the Dallas Cowboys. He went to Dallas because the fact that he wants to be on a winning culture. That I completely understand. But the Jets, in terms of getting their capital draft, looks very, very good. I am not going to complain too much about it, but the way how the future looks for the upcoming draft and next year's draft, I think this is going to be a very, very stacked draft come to 2027.
Mm. Yeah, but then the also one, it was also Rashid Shaheed went and left, and now he's gone to the Seattle Seahawks. So that's good for him, too. He gets to get out of New Orleans and actually go to a team that has some promise in the Seattle Seahawks, fresh off another bit dominant win.
You know what's crazy? A lot of people said that the Giants needed Jalen Waddle or Garrett Wilson to help out Jackson Dart, but unfortunately, that none of these things happened. What was the point of just waiting 4 hours for the trade deadline and do nothing? So basically, you just want to get fired by Black Monday. Typical. This happens every year with Joe Shane. He does this every year in terms of not treating their players. You got to do something about this. There's no excuse for you to not make some trades. If your team needs a receiver, you need a receiver. If your team needs a guard or offensive line, you need an offensive line. And the Giants overall did not do that at all this
No.
whole day.
And it's ridiculous. It's crazy to think you had the whole week to at least do something. Get a receiver on someone on the line, something, anything. Maybe even
You
get an
know,
extra pick in return, even if it's a mid-round pick. Just they should have tried doing something. And it's crazy they didn't even try because even the Cowboys, I don't think they really got a whole lot, but they at least tried on this deadline. They're at least
the
trying.
Eagles didn't do the same thing too, but getting their two players from Miami and Baltimore.
Right. The point is with those teams, you at least are seeing an effort to address those needs. Now, time will tell if it actually helps. It looks like for the most part, these are just temporary fill in needs, but at least they're trying and there's making effort. And then Steel by the Lake podcast posted trade or fall behind. And
This
that's
was the teams that really fall behind were the Giants. They fall behind. The Bengals fall behind, and of course you had the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers pretty much fall behind. So they pretty much did all these teams I mentioned did nothing in the deadline.
yes. And the Bengals, Jesus, they missed 15 tackles in that Bears game, which is absolutely insane. I mean, well, few missed tackles it happens, but 15 in the same game.
This is no excuse for the Bengals defense to be inexcusably bad. Now, as for the Giants, yes, there was no big surprise. You called it. You said the 49ers should beat the Giants due to the injury problems. But Jackson Dart has been playing a lot better. Get this man some help. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he had two passing touchdowns and he's the lead rusher. It's while Jackson Dart is mobile is can be a dual threat quarterback, you also need a running back, which they do have, but unfortunately he's not available for them right now. And who knows the timeline for his return. You still need some help though.
Exactly. Get Dart some help in terms of drafting a wide receiver from the draft or by the offseason trying to trade for one.
And realistically, with Malik Neighbors, when he's healthy, he flashes some potential, but this is 2 seasons he's had major injuries. That's a red flag about his availability in the future.
Having a concussion and a torn ACL is really Achilles heel.
Yeah. Yeah, so with that being said, we're going to move on and talk about the week 10 picks. And I'm going to have an interesting take about one of the teams playing on Thursday night. So we kick it off Broncos and Raiders.
The AFC West matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Now, the Raiders are coming off a very tough loss despite their efforts in overtime against the Jaguars. There was no surprise that Jacksonville won, but I never expected them to go overtime with Las Vegas. Geno Smith continues to be, you know, you still got Ashton Jetty doing great. Everybody else is doing great. And I feel bad personally for Max Crosby because Max Crosby is one of their best defenders. So I cannot kid you not. I think Denver is going to win it because Bo Nix still got the energy in him, and he has the best receiver recorded Sutton. And their defense is still showcasing why they're great, and that's pretty much it. I still believe that the Denver Broncos are the most surprising AFC West team aside from the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Denver Broncos, this is going to be an interesting take. To me, they're like a they're like the 2011 Broncos but more polished with some cuz the way they play a lot of their games. This is now the game against the Texans that happened was now makes them 4-0 entering the fourth quarter in games they were trailing this season. So there are some parallels there between the two teams where all of a sudden they pull magic in the fourth quarter and it's good enough to win. But at the same time, I feel like Bo Nix is a little bit more polished than Tebow was for that 2011 team. So it's kind of like a more polished version of the 2011 Broncos. Now, in this game against the Raiders, give me the Broncos to win this one. It's probably going to be the usual script. The Raiders will make it competitive, but the Broncos will come up with the win in the end.
The Raiders will still put up a fight, but ultimately lose to Denver. I can agree with that.
The
Next
next
up,
one,
we got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Indianapolis Colts. This, in my opinion, is could be a competitive matchup. The Falcons come off from a very short victory against the New England Patriots, and I thought it was going to be a blowout. Apparently, Michael Penix Jr. actually played out really well. So, Bijan Robinson looks great. Everybody else looks like a resurgence for now. But I'm not going to be biased or unbiased about it. The Colts. They're coming off a major upset against Pittsburgh. There was no excuse for Daniel Jones to have 5 turnovers against a real team. Sure, they had some victories over these teams like the Broncos, etc. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse for you to turn the ball over 5 times. Jonathan Taylor was doing his part. Tyler Warren was doing his part. The defense was doing their part. But additionally, adding Sauce Gardner now on the team, that could increase their chances of winning not only the AFC South as the most surprising team in the NFL, but also Daniel Jones should bounce back. Give it the Indianapolis Colts over the Atlanta Falcons.
For the Colts, what happened though with the Steelers, I feel they got a little overzealous. They relied way too heavily on the pass because they were looking at Pittsburgh's secondary, their struggles against the Packers, and then before that the Bengals, and they thought, oh, we can just pass on them all day and it'll work in our favor. But that did not happen. We kind of saw shades of 2000 of Daniel Jones with the Giants where they become too overzealous on the pass. They force them to make plays and it don't really work out. But here against the Falcons, the Colts should have learned from last week. They'll get back to more letting Jonathan Taylor be the leader of the offense and letting the plays and letting him set up the pass game, which is what they excelled at all season. So give me the Colts to win this one. I mean, Michael Penix Jr. is decent, but he still needs some more time to get him.
To try to get the rhythm?
Yeah, so. And the Falcons, they're just kind of a mid type of team right now.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one, if I'm being honest here.
So now we actually get to the 1 o'clock.
You know, to be fair, I noticed the game is in Germany. And the game they're playing is in Germany for the Falcons and the
Right.
Colts. Next up, we got the New York Giants versus the Chicago Bears. This, in my opinion, could be an interesting matchup because we have Caleb Williams going off against the Bengals defense. We have the New York Giants coming off a decent loss against the San Francisco 49ers. Will there be a surprise? Who knows? Jackson Dart will continue to showcase why he's the best rookie quarterback of this year, while Caleb Williams continues to riz his way to victory. Ultimately, I'm not going to be biased. Give me the Chicago Bears over the New York Giants. The Giants will put up a good fight, but ultimately, Chicago Bears will handle their secondary against the New York Giants offense.
This is seeming like the perfect game for the Chicago Bears. This season, one of their big benefits is they've been taking advantage of an easier schedule, and the Giants, obviously, they're a team that still has a lot of work to do in terms of actually winning games. But the Bears with Ben Johnson, all right, they're not great, but they're certainly playing better, and they're at least finding ways to win games against the Chicago Bears or against the New York Giants, excuse me. I got the Bears to win this one. They'll find a way, especially if DeAndre Swift is back. That could really help. And plus, well, the Giants, I mean, they're not as bad as the historically awful Bengals defense, but more on that later. But yeah, I'll take the Bears in this one.
Next up, we got the AFC East showdown between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is coming off a victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember how I said last week, we said, let the Groundhog Day prophecy begin? Let this continue because the Buffalo Bills will continue to pound over the Dolphins defense. The Bills are coming off one of the greatest game of the week games we've ever seen. No big surprise. We know who the better team was. Buffalo was more superior than Kansas City. But ultimately, they will still continue to showcase why they're the greatest team, the juggernaut of the American Football Conference. Give me the Buffalo Bills over the Miami Dolphins.
Oh my goodness, this game right here. What is there to say? You got teams going in two opposite directions. You got the Miami Dolphins, a team that's going to the Tank Bowl, a complete dumpster fire. They just fired their general manager. How much longer is Mike McDaniel going to last?
Which
Question
I'm going to
one.
be honest with you, this is what they get for firing Brian Flores. You remember that 2021 season when
Right.
the Dolphins won 7 in a row with Brian Flores just to get booted out of the playoffs and then terminated on Black Monday? Why would they even do that?
Yeah, that's crazy. And then all of a sudden they have a really good season, off season in terms of talent wise when they got Tyreek Hill. So they had the right talent the following year. And instead we got was with Mike McDaniel, we had 2 seasons where they snuck in the playoffs to go one and done. Last year, a disappointing year, and this year, a complete dumpster fire. You got to wonder if they have that exact same offseason with Brian Flores as the coach, how much different would have it gone? I don't know if we
It,
necessarily would
it
have
would have
been a
been way
Super Bowl
different if
team,
Brian
but
Flores.
it would have been better.
It would have been different with Brian Flores because he has a winning culture defense, but the offensive was pretty much god awful in terms of the offensive line. There's going to be no big surprise when they hired Mike McDaniels a few years later, and they regretted everything for firing Brian Flores. It should be Chris Grider that should be going, not Brian Flores. I don't even know why they even terminated him in the first place. They could have kept him for a few years in terms of developmental talent wise. Flipping heck, he's doing a lot better on the Vikings defense.
All right. And yeah, I mean, now the Dolphins, they may have actually had a shot at maybe winning a game or two if they went into a playoff run healthy under Flores. Now, would they have gone to a Super Bowl? I don't quite know about that, but they could have at least been better and maybe made a decent playoff run with Brian Flores. But
They
here they
could have
are.
won a playoff game with them.
But here they are now, stuck with Mike McDaniel. This is where you're at. You're 2-7, and you're going against the Buffalo Bills team that's still in contention. Josh Allen's out there still doing his thing. He's got himself a good tight end, a good running back. Dolphins are just an all-around dumpster fire this year. Give me the Bills to win this one. Advance to 7-2. For Buffalo, I'm just waiting to see what they do come playoff time because the regular season's predictable in a good way as far as the Bills are concerned, but I'm just waiting to see what they do net come playoff time. Speaking of Brian Flores,
Yep, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not going to be too surprised because this is going to be a shootout. Between JJ McCarthy and Lamar Jackson will do Lamar Jackson things. And this, in my opinion, is going to be one of those games where where both North Division teams is going to have a really good game. But ultimately, the Ravens will win by a mid differential offense.
yeah, I mean, now with Lamar being back, we saw Miami was the perfect warm-up game. I said it earlier on the three-point blitz for Lamar to shake off the rust, get the confidence going back up, and get himself back into form. And now he's got that out the way. Now here comes the bigger test for them against the Minnesota Vikings. And with the Vikings, we saw in that game right there, we kind of underestimated JJ McCarthy. After seeing him gone for 5 weeks and seeing what they looked like with Carson Wentz, we see McCarthy come back. They drop 27 points against the Lions and get the upset win. You realize maybe we kind of underestimated him a little bit, but that's also because he only played 2 games. So that was
I
like
mean, then again, he had a crucial injury last year, and a lot of people criticize it because he only went to Michigan with Jim Harbaugh. But what can you do?
but either way, as far as the game goes, for my take, I'm leaning toward the Ravens getting the upset in this one and moving back to 4-5 and still keeping themselves in contention. While it is a long shot for them because that's a loaded AFC playoff picture, especially with you're going to have Kansas City, the Chargers, the Broncos. 2 of those 3 are going to be wild card contention. Although Baltimore might be able to just sneak in. And then you're going to have New England and Buffalo. One of those teams isn't winning the division. It's going to be hard. Baltimore might just have to win out and win that division. But
They
that's
have
another
no
story.
choice but to win at least 6 or 7 games in a row to win out division and potentially make the playoff spot.
Yeah, because that's going to be tough to sneak in as a wild card with all those teams there. At least 2 teams from the AFC West have a shot in either New England or Buffalo, whoever doesn't win that division. But moving along, cue the tanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know there's a lot of people saying that the Jets are the worst team in football. Prepare yourselves for another tank bowl. We got the New York Jets versus the Cleveland Browns, representing the Jacksonville Jaguars from that trade they made. The Jets have traded their best shutdown corner. The Browns traded their defense to the Bears. Both defensive players were traded to 2 different divisions. The New York Jets are coming off about one of the bye weeks. Unfortunately, they are still going to win the Tank Bowl. The Justin Fields may have done something good, but it's not enough. Sure, you still got Garrett Wilson, but that's pretty much it. For the Cleveland Browns, you got Jerry Judy. You got Quinshon Judkins, who's still doing amazing. Everything else for the Browns is looking mediocre. There's no going to be surprise. Give me the Cleveland Browns over the New York Jets.
The biggest thing in this one for me is at least the Cleveland Browns, the one positive so far of their first 8 games is they do have a pretty good defense, and unfortunately the offense hasn't really been able to do much, but here you got a Jets team that really doesn't have much to work with, and I'll take the Browns in this one. But I wondered, kind of all subject with the Jets game, should the Browns at this point maybe start Shedeur? And I wonder, what do they really have to lose by trying to give Shedeur Sanders a go?
Even if you start Shedeur Sanders, he's still going to mess up regardless. Have you been seeing his games in college playoffs? I guess not.
I mean, with the Browns, though, I mean, they should be able to win this game against the Jets. It's not like the Jets really, I mean, at least the Browns have a little bit better talent on the roster. Give me them to take the win, and we'll just snooze through that one. But this next one actually is interesting.
This,
Hallelujah.
in my opinion, could be a shootout. You have the New England Patriots versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 teams that traded for Tom Brady. The TB12 Bowl. Drake May doing Drake May things. Baker Mayfield showcasing why he's the best team in the NFC South. You still got Ibuka. My condolences to Mike Evans for that injury that he had. But they will still do their part. They will still continue why they're the best team in the NFC South. They will still continue why they're the best few contenders to win the Super Bowl. Ultimately, this is going to be a tough one. If I had to choose one, Tampa Bay by a high differential in fourth quarter situations.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if you noticed, but at the bottom of the screen, it has the channel it's going to be on. And I noticed it's on CBS. I thought I was a bit shocked it wasn't on Fox just to have Brady announce it, but that's neither here nor there. The actual game itself, though, we didn't really think it going into the season, but this could be the game of the week potentially. You have Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are what we expected. Even Baker stepped up his game a little bit from per usual. They got a good ground game, an awesome rookie wide receiver, and the New England Patriots, a quarterback who's breaking out, who's having his breakout year, along with Mike Vrabel, who fits in perfectly with that culture. You have Demario Pop Douglas was fresh off a great game in honor of his late uncle. Rest in peace to his uncle. And the Patriots are a really good team at 7-2, but might be kind of similar to what happened with the Colts going against the Steelers. in regards to they're taking a bit of a step up from what they're used to. And that's what New England's doing here. So I feel like Tampa, they're a little more used to these type of big game situations. I feel like it'll be a good experience for New England, but Tampa Bay will ultimately get the win and move to 7-2.
Oh boy. I know this is supposed to be a tank ball, but it's not. Cue the tank division. Because why? We know Bryce Young is doing their part. We know Spencer Rattler is a trash quarterback. They have Tyler Shug, but at what point do you have to use him for the rest of the season if you already have a quarterback? You should have traded Rashid Shaheed to the oh wait, he got traded. You should have traded Chris Olive to a different team. But unfortunately for that, I see the Saints pretty much upsetting the Panthers.
I mean, the Panthers, I feel like their kind of record's a bit overrated because they've been kind of taking advantage of favorable situations for the most part, but they're still 5-4. Rico Dottle finally found the right fit, and he's been having a few really good games. And usually, when he has those good games, it goes 100+ yards. They find a way to win. And, the Panthers aren't great. They at least know how to win games, and I feel like the Saints is the perfect situation for them to go 6-4. Now, do I think this will keep up? I feel like later in the season, the Panthers will inevitably finish at best maybe 8 wins and 8 or 9 at best and fall short of the playoffs. But I feel like they should be able to beat the Saints in this one. But you never know if this could be an upset. But I will go with the Panthers for now. All right.
This is an interesting one. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Houston Texans, the AFC South showdown. Jacksonville is coming off an amazing win against the Vegas Raiders. Texans just lost CJ Stroud potentially for the year. And you have Davis Mills. I feel sorry for CJ Stroud, by the way. But ultimately, give me Jacksonville over Houston.
I mean, there isn't much to say in this one. I mean, Jacksonville, with a new coach and Liam Cohen, they're actually playing better with some of the same pieces. And Houston, it's been a rough season all around. Even CJ Stroud, it's like it's not looking the same as it was his rookie year. Now he's got the concussion, which is really just the icing on the cake for this season. Really, at this point with CJ Stroud, just hoping for a rebound next year. And the Houston Texans, Davis Mills, not the most optimistic in the world. Davis Mills is more known for looking like comedian Bill Burr.
Oh, man.
But at least the Jaguars, they have talent. I'll take them to get the win in this one.
Yep, and there will be no big surprise then. Next up, we got the NFC West showdown between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks are coming off an amazing blowout against the Washington Commanders. JSN with Sam Darnold looks amazing. Their defense now looks amazing. They could compete to the playoffs with a winning record, but ultimately they were eliminated last year with a winning record with 10-7. They should have won against the Giants, if I'm being honest with you. But the Seahawks could go another win against Arizona. Because the last time that happened, the Seahawks won on a game-winning field goal. But I will say this. Arizona, with Jacoby Myers, are coming off a victory against Dallas on Monday night. With Marvin Harrison Jr. doing his part, everybody else doing his part, I ultimately could see the Cardinals win, but no. Seattle. The Seahawks will win.
And what we realized yesterday is we've kind of underestimated Arizona's defense. Unfortunately, the offense hasn't been good enough to win more games. I feel like if you take that same Arizona Cardinals defense, put them with a better offense, they get more wins. And remember
They have
last
a
time,
perfectly balanced team, if you think about it. Put that offense with their defense, you have a perfectly balanced team to contend.
and to be fair, last time the Cardinals did make it a competitive game last time around. And now here we go this time around. The Seahawks are now, and they're 6-2, and they're in the driver's seat. The Cardinals, I mean, Jacoby Brissett's a solid backup quarterback, and in the right situation can win some games. But this is also against the Seattle Seahawks defense, who's been really good this season, followed by Sam Darnold, who's continuing that momentum from last year. He's becoming a modern Alex Smith, where he started off looking like a bust, and then he started to turn his career around. And now Seattle's got a new weapon on offense.
You mentioned
Rashid Shen.
Alex Smith, right?
Yeah,
You
I
mentioned
said
Alex
that there
Smith,
were
right?
some. I drew a Darnold Smith comparison.
That's interesting because the last time I remember correctly, Seattle went to the Super Bowl before Russell Wilson. They ultimately lost to the Steelers thanks to Big Ben.
All right, that was like years back, Super Bowl 40 with Matt Hasselback and Sean Alexander as the lead rusher. And that was
So
crazy.
give me the Seattle Seahawks over the Arizona Cardinals, in other words.
Yeah, definitely in this one because Seahawks have the better all around team. I'll take them to get the win. And then we got ourselves a good matchup for the NFC West.
The another NFC West competitive. You have the Los Angeles Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are coming off an amazing win. By the way, for those who like baseball a lot, congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers on their successful, title defense against the Toronto Blue Jays in 7 games. They celebrated their win with the Dodgers, but season's over. Now the real thing gets to it. Should the Rams beat the 49ers? Absolutely. Matthew Stafford can come off with another Super Bowl victory when he retires. So, Puka Nakua, amazing. Offense, amazing. Defense without Aaron Donald, amazing. But the 49ers with Mac Jones, they're still competitive. Give me the Los Angeles Rams over the San Francisco 49ers.
And it was after last week of the three, all four teams the NFC West won. I'm thinking, look, while it's an awesome division, some of their matchups against other struggling teams, it's kind of getting a little bit boring. I was looking forward to some of these NFC West matchups. Now, my prayers being answered, we got Seahawks Cardinals, which it should be a decent matchup. Then you got the 49ers and Rams with something on the line. Remember, last time the 49ers beat them, but we also got to remember the Niners had their number during the regular season. So,
Exactly. This is the battle for NFC West supremacy.
exactly. And we've seen, too, not to mention Christian McCaffrey starting to come back into form. And he barely played it all last year. Now, this year, it took a few weeks to shake the rust off, but now McCaffrey's getting back into form. The last couple of games, he's been doing really good. Now we got to see what he does against the Rams here. Although offensive wise, the Rams, I don't know, I'm kind of leaning toward maybe the upset here because the 49ers come regular season time just know how to beat the Rams, and that's the consistent denominator has been McVay and Stafford have been there the entire time. The Niners have had their numbers, so kind of leaning toward maybe the Niners getting the win at home. But I could.
You see the 49ers?
Yeah, it could happen.
George Kittle's still the best tight end, though.
So it's certainly possible. Moving on to the next game. This should
Next
be
up, we
a
got the
unanimous.
NFC North. We got the NFC Championship rematch. NFC Divisional Championship, sorry, rematch between the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders. First off, yikes from Jaden Daniels. That injury was gruesome. You have a a running game that looks very, very big. Yes, you still got Debo Samuel doing his part, but unfortunately, it's not enough against a Detroit Lions defense. Aiden Hutchinson is still great. Their defense is still great. Their offenses look great. Jared Goff still doing Jared Goff things. Sonic and Knuckles doing Sonic and Knuckles things, collecting rings and chaos emeralds. But give me the Detroit Lions over the Washington Commanders. I'm starting to think that the Commanders really fell off after last season.
Dude, especially with what's been going on. It's Jaden Daniels' injury, number one, which is the worst because that was their lead guy in the offense. They were already struggling before them, but well, Daniels had already been missing a ton of games. He comes back and gets injured this time his shoulder now. He's done. And then you also lost Marshawn Lattimore, Luke McCaffrey, and their roster isn't getting younger this season. But Detroit Lions, I say they put that loss to the Vikings behind them, take out their frustrations on the Commanders, get an easy win, cruise to 6-3, and put that Vikings game behind them.
Yep. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Chargers are coming off a very tough injury from Joe O. Since I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish guy, he's a really good offensive tackle for the Chargers. But Herbert's still doing Herbert things. They're still going to dominate. But when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, their team looks pretty great. Defense with TJ Watt, amazing. Everybody else did amazing. So, if I had to choose one to win, I'm going to ultimately say the Pittsburgh Steelers should bounce back after that terrible loss against Green Bay.
I was actually a bit surprised he went there because I'm thinking about it. I'm going to lean toward the upset because we saw the Chargers with their offensive line woes in that game. While they did win against Tennessee, it was a close game, and they had to rely on Justin Herbert to be more of a mobile quarterback and be the lead rusher, which doesn't really suit his strengths. And now you go against a Pittsburgh team with TJ Watt, excuse me. This could be an upset. I'm surprised a lot of more people aren't seeing this because Pittsburgh are known for getting these upsets under Tomlin.
Which I couldn't agree more with you on that one because Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches they have. If they let him go, there will be the biggest mistake they will ever make.
And it's amazing how more people haven't picked up on that by now. I still see with these weekly picks, people always taking the impulse and going with the favorites, even with Pittsburgh's track record of surprise wins.
And last but not least, the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champs, against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay, without Tucker Kraft this year, now their offense looks very vulnerable. Without Tucker Kraft, the only player they have to rely on is Matthew Golden, Josh Jacobs, and of course, other players. Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson. That's the only team you have to rely on. But the defense with Michael Parsons, they could ultimately stop Eagles defense. With Xavier McKinney now back to his form, and Michael Parsons continue to showcase why the Cowboys let him go. But ultimately, I could see this happen. I could ultimately see this happen. Between the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert, there's no surprise because the Philadelphia Eagles will dominate the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much it. So, I mean, the Eagles, their offense has been Jalen Hurts has had his best passing season. Saquon, you're hoping that game is maybe the start of the turnaround. And we saw with Tank Bigsby being utilized in the offense a little bit more that he can make a difference in this offense. Now, the Packers do have a really good defense, so it's not going to be as easy for the Eagles as it was the last go around. But with that offense, with the Packers, like you said, they're really missing a key piece. And Jordan Love, let's face it, he's not, to me, I haven't seen, he's not the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers. It's just not happening. I'm not saying he's a scrub, but he's not the Aaron Rodgers replacement. And their
He
offense,
isn't, but he has more playoff victories than Dallas does.
yes. And as far as this goes, like I said, that offense, I don't trust them, especially with a healthy Jalen Carter. We know he's the huge difference maker for that Eagles defensive line. So give me the Eagles to win this one. I'm not thinking it's going to be too many points. But yeah, I do have the Eagles to take this one against the Packers. So That's it for the games. Do you have any hot takes about any of the games coming up this week before we go?
This is my hot take. You know how Woody Johnson said that this year will be different? And they said, oh, we're going to be the best team in the AFC East with Justin Fields. Justin Fields overpowering Buffalo. Well, unfortunately, sports is a fickle mistress. This year was different, all right, for the Jets. It started with promise. It ends with death. It still wouldn't matter. Buffalo Bills will piss on their graves anyway.
Yep. So for me, hot take for this one is be prepared for either the 49ers or Steelers or possibly both to get an upset. At least one of those two teams.
I'm expecting San Fran or Pittsburgh to pretty much win either one. But ultimately, the trade deadline this whole season has been crazy. I have never seen the Jets wasted a boatload of talent, including Brees Hall, which I'm surprised he didn't get traded. I was hearing rumors that he was supposed to be traded to the Chiefs. I was hearing rumors that Garrett Wilson should be traded to the Giants. But ultimately, I wouldn't waste a first round pick for just one guy from Ohio State. Don't get me wrong, Garrett Wilson's still talented. But I would not waste the Giants' first round pick for this. So I'm gonna say, you know what? Fine. You don't want to trade? Draft one. Don't mess this up come the draft in 2026.
And as far as all the rumors go, this is the lesson we learned from this is don't believe the hype. Same thing with some of my team's fan base hyping up a possible Myles Garrett trade. Obviously, that didn't happen, so you can't always believe the rumors. Sometimes you just got to wait and see what happens. Like Sauce Gardner was a bit of a surprise, so
Sauce Gardner was, in my opinion, was truly unexpected.
So yeah, definitely. Now trade deadline's over. We got to see where some of these these players do with their new teams. So for Nikki Stees, Agent Warrior X, thanks for tuning in to Week 10 of the NFL Pick'ems. Catch us again Week 11, same time next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for joining as always. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Signing off.
Until next time, everyone. Goodbye, my friends.